The early morning rush at the coffee shop is chaotic, an unrelenting stream of customers, the sound of espresso machines hissing, the clink of coffee mugs, and the chatter of people just starting their day. For most, it's a simple routine. Order a cup of coffee, maybe a croissant, and get on with it. But for some, that morning cup of caffeine can become something far more than just a drink. It's a moment to witness human behavior, to watch how the world reacts to those who are different, and how those differences can spark something unexpected. This is a story of a regular coffee shop, a barista with a disability, and an encounter that escalates far beyond anyone's expectations. Have you ever walked into a cafe just to witness something so jarring that it makes you stop, take a deep breath, and wonder how you would respond in that moment? Imagine a person shouting at a barista, an innocent person just trying to do their job. At first, it seems like a simple misunderstanding, maybe a frustration over a wrong order. But as the tension in the air thickens, the true nature of what's happening becomes crystal clear, and the last person you would expect to stand up for what's right steps forward to take control of the situation. Now, I know you're sitting there wondering, what in the world happened next? Let's set the stage. The barista at the counter is deaf. Not something that stands out immediately because she's been doing this job for years, and everyone around here knows her. She moves with practiced ease, her hands swift and graceful as she prepares drinks, communicating with customers through her own unique way of signing and using an iPad to take orders. She doesn't need to hear to know her job inside and out. But there's one customer today who doesn't see her effort, doesn't see her humanity. Instead, he sees her as just another obstacle to his caffeine fix. The man shouts. He doesn't just speak louder, he shouts. Now, I know you're wondering what could possibly drive someone to shout at a barista, let alone one who is deaf. Is it frustration? Is it impatience? Or is it something deeper, something uglier? As the man raises his voice, the eyes of the shop turn to him. Some are surprised, others uncomfortable, but no one steps in. It's as if the tension is too thick to cut through, and everyone's unsure what to do. You might be sitting there, shaking your head, wondering what you would do if you were there. Would you step in and say something? Or would you stay silent, letting someone else deal with it? But before you make that call, remember, there's someone else in the room. Someone you wouldn't expect. Someone who sees the injustice and decides that it's time to take a stand. This isn't just a story about a shouting man and a deaf barista. It's about how the quietest person in the room can sometimes have the loudest voice. The manager, who had been watching the entire scene unfold from a distance, steps forward with a microphone in hand. And when the manager speaks, everything changes. What happens next will not only change how this man sees the world, it will change how you see the world. 2. What does the manager say? How does the situation escalate? And more importantly, what happens to the man who thought he could intimidate someone without consequence? The answers are closer than you think, but to get there, we need to walk through this moment together, step by step. I promise you, you're not going to want to look away. Stick with me, because what happens next will leave you speechless. What this manager does is something that you might not expect. It's a masterclass in taking control of a situation, and it's something you'll want to see until the very end. The question is, will you stay to find out what happens when this manager grabs the mic? Or will you turn away before you see how this moment unfolds? As the manager steps forward, the energy in the room shifts. It's not just the cold stare he gives the man who's still yelling, nor the way his hand grips the microphone. It's the way the entire coffee shop seems to hold its breath. Everyone is waiting for what will come next, but few are prepared for what happens when this manager takes control. What would make someone act so decisively in a situation that, for many, might feel uncomfortable or awkward to intervene in? It all starts with a series of small moments that led to this point. To understand the significance of what happens next, we need to take a step back and look at the lives of the people involved. First, let's talk about the barista, Emily. She's been working at this cafe for nearly 5 years, and in that time, she's built a reputation, not just as a skilled barista, but as a person who doesn't let the challenges of her deafness define her. Emily doesn't just take orders, she builds relationships with her customers. They know her by name, and she knows them. She's the type of person who can read the room with a glance, who can sense when someone's had a rough day and offer them a little extra kindness in the form of a perfectly brewed latte or a friendly smile. But what people don't always see is the constant battle she faces, just to be seen as equals in a world that often treats her differently. The man who is shouting at her? He's a regular. His name is Ben. You wouldn't know it by looking at him, but Ben carries a heavy weight of frustration with him wherever he goes. To the outside world, he's just another person trying to get his morning coffee, but beneath the surface, there's more going on. Ben's been dealing with a lot lately. His job is on the line, his marriage is strained, and he's been feeling increasingly isolated. For him, this morning's coffee isn't just about caffeine. It's about control, about maintaining a semblance of order in a life that feels like it's slipping through his fingers. And when he sees Emily's hands moving in a way he doesn't understand, something inside him snaps. It's as if the world is mocking him, pushing him to the edge. He doesn't care that she's deaf. He doesn't care that he's making a scene. In his mind, he's the one who deserves to be heard. He's the one who deserves respect. And for some reason, Emily's silent, efficient movements seem like a challenge to that fragile sense of control he's clinging to. Now, you might be thinking, why doesn't someone step in sooner? Where is the intervention? And that's where the manager, James, comes into play. James isn't just a manager by title. He's a quiet force in the cafe, someone who's been there for years, watching over his employees and customers with a level of awareness that many don't notice. On the surface, James is the kind of person who blends into the background, the one you don't really notice unless you're looking closely. But what most people don't know is that James has a past filled with its own share of struggles, moments when he was the one on the receiving end of injustice. He knows what it feels like to be underestimated, to be looked down upon. And though he's kept his distance from the cafe drama, today feels different. Today, the line has been crossed. As the tension escalates, James walks closer to the scene, his gaze fixed on Ben, who is still shouting, oblivious to the growing discomfort of the other customers. It's in that moment that the first red herring appears. James doesn't seem to be rushing to Emily's aid out of some noble sense of justice. No, there's something else in his eyes, something that suggests he has an agenda of his own. Could James have a personal vendetta against Ben? Or perhaps there's some unresolved history between them that we don't know about yet. The way James steps forward with such a calm demeanor seems almost deliberate, as if he's been preparing for this moment, as if he knows exactly how to handle it. But why? What does he have to gain by getting involved in this altercation? As James approaches, he nods to Emily, signaling her to step back for a moment, to give him space. He raises the microphone in his hand. No one's quite sure where it came from, and without saying a word, he adjusts it, making sure the sound is clear. The rest of the cafe is now holding its breath, everyone sensing that the real drama is about to unfold. But here's the twist. The microphone isn't just for the customers. It's a tool that James has used before, in moments that required more than just words to make an impact. The question is, who is James trying to reach with it? Is it Ben? Is it the customers? Or is it something else entirely? With the microphone in his hand, James finally speaks, his voice carrying throughout the cafe. You think you're the only one who's frustrated? The only one who's had a bad day. His words hang in the air, heavy with intent. You think you can just shout at people and make them disappear? His gaze shifts toward Emily, who's still standing quietly by the counter, waiting. For a moment, everything feels like it's standing still. But in that silence, there's a spark. A tiny flicker of recognition that something big is about to happen. James isn't just about to end this conflict, he's about to expose something hidden beneath the surface. What exactly is he going to reveal? What truths does he know that could shake this entire cafe to its core? As the words hang in the air, the tension is almost unbearable, and just when you think you have a handle on the situation, another layer of uncertainty is added. Why is James so calm? What does he know about Ben that no one else does? Could this whole situation be part of something much bigger than just a simple customer service issue? Or is there something more personal at play here? As the microphone crackles with James' steady voice, a strange feeling begins to settle over the room. It's almost as if the words themselves have triggered something. The customers who were once glued to their phones or lost in their own conversations are now hanging on every syllable, watching intently. But as James speaks, something unexpected happens, a quiet, almost imperceptible shift in the atmosphere. It's as if the air itself has thickened, weighed down by the knowledge that this moment is about to lead somewhere neither James nor anyone else could have predicted. Just when it seems like the situation might resolve, something throws a wrench in the gears of this already tense encounter. For all his calm composure, James is suddenly faced with an obstacle, one that's not immediately visible to the rest of the cafe. As he gestures toward Ben, trying to draw the man's attention away from Emily and onto the real issue, he notices something strange. The camera feed for the cafe's security system goes black. At first, it's just a flicker, a small glitch that could be easily brushed off. But then the screen remains blank, no images, no movement, no recording. A chill runs down James' spine. This wasn't a coincidence. It's almost as if someone intentionally cut off the security feed at the exact moment things were about to escalate. James hesitates for a moment, his eyes scanning the room, trying to gauge who might have the access or knowledge to do something like this. The cafe's cameras are usually locked down tight, only accessible by the management, but somehow, someone got to them. Someone with a plan, someone who might be trying to stop the truth from coming to light.
But why?
What's so important about this moment, about this interaction, that someone would go to such lengths to silence it? His hand tightens around the microphone, but he doesn't stop. He knows what he has to do. But as James turns to face Ben, ready to continue calling out the man's behavior, a familiar voice interrupts him, one that makes his heart sink into his stomach. It's Maria, his colleague and longtime friend, standing near the door. Her face is pale, her eyes darting around the cafe nervously. She's the kind of person who usually stays out of conflict, preferring to remain in the background, offering a smile to customers instead of making waves. But now, something in her demeanor seems off. The way she's looking at James, the unease in her eyes. There's something more going on here than a simple coffee shop confrontation. James, stop. You don't know what you're getting into, Maria says, her voice low but urgent. She takes a few steps closer, glancing over her shoulder as if making sure no one else is listening. You don't understand what's really happening here. Just let it go. For a moment, James freezes. Maria has always been a voice of reason in their team, the one who keeps everyone grounded when things start to spiral. But now, her warning feels more like a threat than a suggestion. What does she mean? You don't understand? What is she hiding? Why is she so desperate for him to stop digging into this? But before he can respond, another problem emerges. Ben, sensing the growing tension, begins to get more aggressive. His eyes narrow, his body stiffening, as if he senses the change in the atmosphere. What's going on here? You're all in on this, aren't you? Trying to embarrass me? He shouts, his voice rising in pitch. I'm not going to stand here and be humiliated by some deaf barista and a manager who's too soft to do his job. At this point, the room is at its breaking point. People are visibly uncomfortable, looking at each other, unsure of how to react. Some try to inch toward the exit, while others pull out their phones, hoping to capture whatever happens next. The threat of violence is in the air, palpable, but something else looms larger than just a simple confrontation between a man and a barista. James' mind races as he considers the mounting obstacles. Maria's warning, the missing footage, Ben's outburst. It all feels too much to ignore. What if everything about this situation was more than it seemed? What if Ben wasn't just an angry customer? What if he had something to do with the strange disappearance of the footage, or even the unsettling atmosphere in the cafe? But just as James begins to piece these fragments together, something even more unexpected happens. The cafe door swings open, and a man steps inside. He's tall, dressed in dark clothes, and his presence seems to shift the energy of the room yet again. He doesn't look like someone who's here for coffee. His eyes scan the room, landing on James and then Ben, as if he's been waiting for this exact moment. His face is calm, too calm, almost detached. And then, in a voice that cuts through the tension, he speaks. "You're making a mistake," he says, his gaze never leaving James. "You shouldn't be messing with this." The entire cafe seems to freeze in that moment. The man's tone isn't threatening, but it's clear that he knows something the others don't. He's not just a bystander in this story, he's part of the puzzle. But who is he? Why does he feel so out of place, like a shadow lurking at the edge of a story that's already grown far too complicated? James looks back at Maria, her face pale, as she steps back from the stranger, her eyes filled with fear. It's as if she knows this man, and yet, she's just as unsettled as everyone else in the room. What's his connection to all of this? And why is he so insistent that James should back off? As the man's words hang in the air, the weight of his warning settles over James like a thick fog. This isn't just about a customer and a barista anymore. This is about something bigger, something deeper, something far more dangerous. And the deeper James digs, the more he realizes that the truth he's searching for may not be something he's ready to find. What does this stranger know? And why does Maria look like she's just seen a ghost? The stranger's words hang heavy in the air, and for a split second, it feels like the entire cafe has stopped moving. The silence stretches, unbearable and suffocating, as James's mind races to connect the dots. Who is this man? Why did he show up out of nowhere, and why is he so insistent that James back off? There's a sense of dread creeping into the edges of the cafe, a dark undercurrent that's slowly pulling everything into deeper waters. Maria's fear is palpable, but before James can process this new development, something unexpected happens, another twist that threatens to derail everything. Just as the stranger stands there, waiting for a response, a loud ping echoes through the cafe. It's a message coming through on James's phone. He pulls it out, and his heart skips a beat when he sees the notification. It's from an unknown number, but the message itself is chillingly clear. "You're being watched. Stop now before it's too late." There's no signature, no indication of who sent it, just those cold, sharp words. James's hand tightens around his phone, but before he can even react, the lights flicker overhead. A low hum buzzes through the room, and for a moment, everything seems to blur, like the cafe itself is shifting, uncertain of what's real and what isn't. As if on cue, the stranger speaks again, his voice low and controlled. "You shouldn't have come here, James. It's already too late to stop now. You have no idea what's really at stake." His words cut through the tension like a knife, and for the first time, James feels the weight of the situation settle on him. This isn't just about a shouting match between a customer and a barista. It's not even about a simple power struggle in a coffee shop. No, this is something much darker. Something much more personal. But as James tries to process what the stranger means, he gets another shock. From across the cafe, near the counter, Maria, who's been standing in the background, trying to keep her distance, suddenly pulls out her own phone. James watches as she stares at the screen, her face draining of color. She taps her phone frantically, her eyes darting to the stranger, then back to James. And that's when it hits him. Maria's phone is showing the exact same message. The same chilling warning. It's a reminder of just how deep this mystery goes, how interconnected everyone is in this unfolding drama. Maria isn't just a bystander. She's involved, and whatever secrets she's hiding are only adding fuel to the fire. Why would she be getting the same message as him? What does she know about this situation that she hasn't told anyone? The connection between her and the stranger is now undeniable. But it doesn't stop there. As James continues to piece this together, another strange thing happens. His phone buzzes again, this time a voicemail. He hesitates, his finger hovering over the play button, as if instinctively knowing that whatever's on the other end of that message is something he won't want to hear. But there's no turning back now. He presses play. A distorted voice echoes from the speaker, crackling with static, but the words are clear. "You don't know who you're dealing with, James.
Get out while you still can."
It's bigger than you think." The message ends abruptly, and James stands there, the phone still in his hand, unable to process what he's just heard. Who is this person? Why are they targeting him? And how do they know so much about him? The sense of danger is growing, and it's no longer just about protecting Emily from an angry customer. It's about something much more sinister, something that involves everyone in the room. But then, just when it seems like the walls are closing in, another figure enters the cafe. It's another regular customer, a woman named Rachel, who often comes in for her morning coffee before heading to her job at the law firm across town. She's always been quiet, keeping to herself, but there's something off about her today. She walks in slowly, scanning the room, her eyes narrowing as she takes in the scene. She notices the tension between James and the stranger and immediately, almost instinctively, pulls out her phone. James watches as she types something and then, without a word, walks up to him. "I don't know what's going on here, James," Rachel says, her voice barely a whisper. "But you need to be careful. You're not the only one who's being watched." James is about to ask her what she means when, once again, the room seems to hold its breath. For the briefest moment, the lights flicker again, this time plunging the cafe into complete darkness. A few scattered gasps echo in the pitch black, and then the lights flicker back on. But when they do, everything has changed. The stranger is gone. Ben is nowhere to be seen either, and in the chaos of the moment, no one knows where he went. In fact, most of the customers in the cafe are frozen, unsure of what to do next. But when James looks back at Rachel, he notices something strange. Her phone is no longer in her hand. It's as if it disappeared in the darkness. The room feels suddenly smaller, the walls pressing in. There's a growing sense that this whole scenario isn't just a random confrontation. This has all been orchestrated, and James, Maria, Emily, Rachel, none of them are innocent bystanders in this strange game. Someone is pulling the strings, and they're all part of it, whether they realize it or not. Who can James trust? What does Rachel know? And why is Maria so afraid? Just when it seems like James might finally be able to make sense of the situation, he receives a final shock. His phone vibrates again, but this time, it's not a message or a voicemail. It's a photo. He opens it, and his heart races as he stares at the image on the screen. It's a photo of himself, taken from a distance, just moments before he entered the cafe. Someone has been watching him long before this day. And now, with the stakes higher than ever, James knows one thing for sure. The danger isn't just in the cafe, it's everywhere. But who's behind this? And what do they want from him? The answer is closer than he realizes, but for now, it's just out of reach, waiting to reveal itself when the time is right. James stands frozen in the middle of the cafe, staring at the phone in his hand. The photo, the one taken just moments before he stepped inside, has left him breathless. It's not just any photo. It's a snapshot of him, alone, walking down the street outside the cafe, a figure standing in the shadows behind him. Whoever took this photo knew exactly when and where he'd be. But what chills him even more is the unsettling feeling that he's being watched right now, at this very moment. His pulse quickens as his eyes scan the cafe, but nothing seems out of the ordinary. The customers are still sitting, some sipping their drinks, others typing away on laptops, lost in their own worlds. But James knows better now. The feeling of being watched isn't just paranoia. It's real. Every glance feels like it's being measured. Every movement feels like it's being tracked. And it's not just about Ben or the stranger anymore. This goes deeper. Someone is playing a game with him, and he's the pawn. He tries to shake off the growing sense of dread, but it's no use. The walls of the cafe suddenly feel too close, like they're closing in on him. His phone buzzes again, and for a brief moment, he wonders if he should even check it. But he knows he has no choice. The last message from an unknown number has been gnawing at him, and he opens the new one with trembling fingers. The message is short but devastatingly clear. You're not safe. It's too late to stop now. The words send a jolt through his body, and for the first time in his life, James feels truly vulnerable. He's not in control anymore. This is no longer just about defending a barista from an angry customer. This is something darker, something far more dangerous. As his mind races, trying to make sense of everything, he hears a familiar voice behind him. Maria. She's standing just a few feet away, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. James, we need to talk.
Now.
I don't think we have much time. The urgency in her voice is unmistakable, but it's the look in her eyes that cuts him the most. It's not just fear, it's a look of guilt, as if she's carrying a heavy burden that she's been hiding from him. He turns to face her, and before he can speak, she grabs his arm, pulling him aside into a corner of the cafe. They're watching us. All of us. I don't know who they are, but they've been tracking me for weeks. I didn't want you to get involved, but now, she stops, glancing over her shoulder as if to make sure no one is listening. Now it's too late. They know you're looking into this. They know everything about us. James feels a knot form in his stomach. This is more than just a random string of events. Maria's fear is real. And the more he thinks about it, the more he realizes just how deep this rabbit hole goes. There's no turning back now. As he tries to process her words, his phone buzzes once again. Another message. This time, it's not a warning. It's a photo. He opens it, and the world around him seems to come to a halt. The picture shows Maria, standing in her apartment, looking out of the window. But the most chilling part? There's a figure in the reflection, standing in the shadows, just outside her door. His heart skips a beat, and his eyes snap to Maria. She doesn't need to see the photo to know what's coming. She's already trembling, her face pale as she steps back from him. I told you, James, she whispers, her voice barely audible. They're here. They've been here for days, watching us, waiting for the right moment. Before he can respond, another customer walks into the cafe, and everything changes again. The new arrival, a man in a long black coat, seems to glide across the floor, his eyes never leaving James. There's something unsettling about his presence, something that feels off, like he's more than just a bystander in this bizarre situation. James doesn't know why, but the moment he locks eyes with the man, a chill runs down his spine. It's as if this person knows something he doesn't. But the man doesn't approach. Instead, he heads straight for the door, walking out as quickly as he entered. It's an odd moment, but it's enough to send James's heart into overdrive. Why does this stranger feel so familiar? Why does he feel like he's part of the bigger picture? His mind races again, and just as quickly as he's become aware of the man's presence, he feels his phone buzz once more. This time, it's a call, and the number is one he recognizes, a call from his sister, Emma. He answers it immediately, but what he hears on the other end isn't her voice. It's a low, distorted tone, like someone trying to disguise their identity. You think you're in control, James? You're not. We know everything about you, about your sister, about your life. Stop looking into things you don't understand. It's too late to stop now. The voice hangs in the air like a taunt, cold and calculated. James feels his world tilt, a wave of panic washing over him. His sister? What does she have to do with any of this? And how do they know so much about him? It's as if someone has been digging into his life, unraveling his every move, his every decision. He realizes, with a sickening certainty, that whoever is behind all of this is always one step ahead. The more he tries to uncover, the more they seem to close in. His eyes dart to Maria, her face now a mask of terror, as if she knows something about his sister's involvement in this nightmare. She opens her mouth to say something, but before she can speak, the door slams open again, and the man in the black coat returns. Only this time he's not alone. Two others follow him in, their expressions cold and unfeeling, their eyes scanning the room. It's as if they're looking for something or someone. James's heart pounds in his chest as the room begins to feel smaller, more claustrophobic. He realizes in that moment just how out of control he really is. His sister, his friends, Maria, they're all part of this twisted puzzle. And now, with the walls closing in, it feels like there's no way out. The threat is real. The danger is here. And the answers, if they exist, are slipping further and further away, just beyond his reach. What does it all mean? Who is behind this? And why is everyone connected by a dark, dangerous web of lies and threats that stretches far beyond the cafe? The stakes couldn't be higher, and James knows that if he doesn't figure this out soon, he might not make it out alive. The tension in the cafe has reached a breaking point. Every movement, every glance feels like it carries the weight of 1,000 secrets. The man in the black coat, flanked by his two companions, stands motionless, his eyes sweeping the room with an unsettling calmness. James can't tear his gaze away from them, every nerve in his body telling him that the danger has never been more real. But then, as the seconds drag on in a taut silence, something shifts. The man in the black coat, whose presence alone had sent a ripple of dread through the room, finally speaks. But his words aren't aimed at James or Maria, and they certainly aren't about the strange warnings or the threats that have been haunting him. Instead, they're directed at someone he hadn't even noticed until that moment, Rachel. James's eyes widen as he watches Rachel, who had been quietly sitting near the counter, staring down at her phone in a trance-like state. At first, he'd assumed she was just another customer, another regular who had come in for her daily coffee and left without making waves. But now, as the man in the black coat speaks, the entire dynamic shifts. Rachel isn't just a bystander in this story. She's a key player, someone he had misjudged, someone whose role in all of this had been hiding in plain sight. "You've done well, Rachel," the man says, his voice low but clear. "I didn't think you'd be the one to bring him here, but it's clear you've been playing your part all along." Rachel freezes, her eyes widening in disbelief as she looks up at the man. For a moment, it's as if she's been caught in a trap she never thought would be sprung. The tension that had been building in the room suddenly shifts from an atmosphere of danger to one of confusion, a deep, unsettling sense that everything James thought he knew about the situation was just a carefully crafted illusion. His mind races as he tries to piece together the fragments of what's happening, but it's like a puzzle that's been deliberately scrambled, every piece just out of reach. "Rachel," James says, his voice cracking as he stares at her, trying to make sense of the words he's just heard. What's going on? What's he talking about? But Rachel doesn't respond. Instead, she stands up slowly, her hands trembling as she walks toward the man in the black coat. The entire cafe feels like it's holding its breath. The man's companions step aside, allowing her to pass, and for a brief moment, there's a silent exchange between her and the stranger, one that James can't quite understand but feels deep in his gut. And then Rachel speaks. "I'm sorry, James," she says, her voice barely audible. "I didn't want you to get caught up in this. But it's too late now. You should have stayed out of it." The words hit James like a punch to the chest. He stares at her, feeling betrayed, confused, and completely blindsided. He had trusted Rachel. She had been one of the few people in his life he thought he could count on. But now, standing there in front of him, she's no different from the strangers who had been following him, watching him, manipulating him from the shadows. But what Rachel says next sends an even darker shiver down his spine. "You've been chasing the wrong story all along, James," she continues, her voice shaking but firm. "It's not about the cafe. It's not about the barista. It's not about any of the threats you've been getting. It's about you. You're the one they've been watching. You're the one they've been waiting for." James's head spins. The floor feels like it's dropping out from beneath him. All of the pieces of the puzzle that had been carefully put together in his mind, pieces that seemed to fit so perfectly, are suddenly falling apart. All along, he had been focused on the wrong things, following the wrong clues. The mystery he had thought was about protecting Maria and Emily, about defending the cafe, and exposing an anonymous threat, was never about any of that. It was about him.
It was always about him.
The revelation is like a cold, bitter wind, sweeping away everything he thought he knew about the situation. He's no longer just the confused bystander. He's the centerpiece of this twisted game. And Rachel, someone he had trusted, someone who had been by his side through it all, has been playing a role in this dark, intricate plot from the very beginning. But as Rachel steps closer to the man in the black coat, something else happens. James's phone buzzes again, but this time, it's not a warning or a photo. It's a voice message. And the voice on the other end is unmistakable. "James, it's Emma. I don't know who you're with right now, but you need to listen to me. They're coming for you. You're not safe. I don't know how they found you, but you've got to get out. They've been following you, and they know everything. If you stay, you're going to regret it." The message cuts off abruptly, and the room feels like it's closing in on James. He's no longer just trying to understand what's going on. He's trying to survive it. Rachel's betrayal, the cryptic warnings, and the figure in the black coat. It's all starting to make sense, but the more it makes sense, the more it scares him. Everything is connected to him. The threats, the danger, the mysterious messages, somehow, it all circles back to him.
But why?
What is it about James that makes him so important to whoever is pulling the strings? What do they want from him? He looks at Rachel one more time, but there's no comfort in her gaze now. There's only cold calculation, a look that sends a chill down his spine. She's not on his side anymore. She never was. And as he stands there, paralyzed by the weight of this new revelation, the man in the black coat steps forward, his cold eyes never leaving James. "You've played your part, Rachel," he says, his voice dripping with a sense of finality. Now it's time for him to do his. The words hang in the air, thick with dread, as James realizes with growing horror that he's been nothing more than a pawn in a game he doesn't understand. And now, with the truth just beyond his reach, it's clear that the stakes have never been higher. There's no going back. And as the man steps closer, James knows that the next move will be his, whether he's ready for it or not. The room feels suffocating. Every breath James takes heavy with the realization that the truth he's been desperately clawing toward is slipping through his fingers. His heart pounds in his chest as he watches Rachel stand before him, the woman who had been his confidant, his ally, now standing with the enemy. The world outside feels like a distant memory, and all he can hear is the deafening silence between them, broken only by the steady hum of the cafe's machines. Every fiber of his being screams for him to run, to get out of this place. But where would he go? What would he even run from? The people in this room have more control over him than he could ever have imagined. And that control has just been made painfully clear. The man in the black coat steps forward, his eyes never leaving James. His words are calm, almost too calm, as though he's discussing something trivial. "You've done well to get this far," he says, his voice a low, chilling hum. "But the time for questions is over. Now it's about decisions." The weight of those words presses down on James like a 1,000-pound anchor, and he feels his limbs go cold. The man is right. This isn't some investigation anymore. This is a game, one that James hadn't even realized he was playing until it was almost too late. As the man speaks, Rachel's eyes never leave the floor, a flicker of guilt in her expression that makes James feel sick to his stomach. But guilt doesn't change what's happening now. It doesn't change the truth that she's standing on the other side of this, playing a part in a scheme that is rapidly spiraling out of control. "James," Rachel says quietly, breaking the heavy silence. "You don't have a choice anymore. You've always been part of this, even if you didn't realize it."
I didn't want this for you.
"I swear to God, I didn't." Her voice cracks, a haunting mixture of regret and desperation, but there's no going back now. The words are out, and the truth is exposed, raw and unfiltered. She's been lying to him all along, not just for days or weeks, but for longer than he can even remember. The betrayal cuts deeper than anything he's ever felt before, and yet, there's a part of him that's too numb to even react. All he can do is listen, absorbing the gravity of the situation as it sinks in, drowning him in a sea of impossible choices. The man in the black coat moves closer to him, and it's then that the ultimatum comes. The words that cut through the air like a blade, leaving James with no room to breathe. "You have two choices, James. Two paths. One leads to safety, but you lose the truth. The other leads to everything you've been seeking, but at the cost of your own safety. You don't get both." His words hang in the air like a judgment, a sentence waiting to be carried out. James's mind races, the room spinning around him as he tries to process what's being asked of him. He can feel the pressure mounting, a suffocating weight pushing him closer and closer to the breaking point. If he chooses safety, he walks away from all of this. He walks away from the dark forces pulling the strings behind the scenes. He walks away from the truth that has been haunting him, from the connections that he's slowly beginning to piece together. But at what cost? His safety is a lie. Choosing it means giving up everything he's fought for, everything he's been desperately chasing. It means accepting that he will never know the truth, never uncover the depths of the conspiracy that has twisted his life into something unrecognizable. On the other hand, if he chooses the truth, he risks everything.
His life, his sanity, his safety.
The people around him, the ones he loves, the ones he's tried so hard to protect. Could they be in danger if he digs too deep? Could his pursuit of the truth destroy them all? He knows it's not just about him anymore. It's about everyone he's ever cared about. But the weight of that truth, that undeniable need to know, presses down on him harder than anything else. What's worse? Living in ignorance or walking the razor-thin edge of truth, knowing it could destroy him in an instant. As the man waits for his answer, Rachel takes a step closer to James. The guilt in her eyes is impossible to ignore, and yet there's a sadness there too, a sadness that makes him wonder just how deep this all runs. Could she have been forced into this? Or was she always a part of the bigger plan, a pawn he'd never seen coming? She reaches out, a gesture that feels like it could be an apology or a plea for understanding, but all it does is remind him of the weight of the decision before him. "I never wanted this for you, James," Rachel repeats, her voice cracking under the pressure of her own guilt. "I swear I didn't, but now it's too late. You have to choose." James doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what to do. His heart races, his pulse quickens, but every direction he looks in only leads to more confusion, more uncertainty. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing that the next step could either be the start of something powerful or the end of everything. The room feels impossibly small, and the weight of his choices presses against him like the force of an ocean tide pulling him under. Then, as if to add one last twist to the tangled mess of decisions, a figure appears in the doorway. James doesn't recognize them immediately, but something about their presence feels different, urgent, familiar, and yet completely out of place. The newcomer's gaze sweeps over the room, and for the briefest moment, their eyes meet James's. There's a flicker of recognition, of understanding, but before he can process it, the figure steps forward, their voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "James, you don't have to make this decision alone," they say, their tone steady, but filled with an underlying sense of urgency. "There's a third option, but you have to trust me." The words hang in the air, sharp and unsettling. A third option? It's a game changer, something James hadn't even considered. But can he trust this new player? Another piece of the puzzle, another layer to this twisted game that's far from over. As the man in the black coat looks toward the newcomer, his expression unreadable, James realizes that the stakes have just been raised even higher. The choice is no longer just about truth or safety. It's about something far more dangerous and far more unpredictable. James takes a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling in. Whatever happens next, there's no turning back now. James's head spins as the realization settles in, like ice water coursing through his veins. This isn't just about him anymore. The scope of this mess, the tangled web of lies, deceit, and manipulation, is far bigger than he could have ever imagined. The conspiracy he thought was merely a personal threat is something much darker, something global, something designed to tear apart lives, and not just his. The weight of it presses down on him harder now, the truth breaking through the surface like a tidal wave, threatening to drown him before he can even take a breath. The room is no longer a sanctuary. It feels like a cage, the walls closing in around him as everyone around him shifts, their motives unclear, their loyalty in question. His mind races as he tries to piece together the fragments of information he's collected over the past weeks. Rachel's involvement had already left him shaken, but now, with the appearance of the mysterious figure offering him a third option, the stakes have taken an entirely new turn. He's been played from the beginning, used like a pawn in a game he didn't understand, and the more he learns, the more he realizes that the people closest to him are the ones who've been hiding the deepest secrets. The man in the black coat, whose presence had once been a silent threat, now stands in the background, his expression unreadable, as if he's seen this moment coming. Rachel looks at James, her face pale, her eyes wide with regret and fear, but her hands are shaking in a way that betrays her. She's been caught in this, entangled in a conspiracy that has her just as trapped as James, but now it's too late to turn back. It's too late for any apologies or explanations. And just as James starts to process the enormity of what's happening, the unexpected figure in the doorway steps forward, their gaze unwavering, as if they've been waiting for this moment all along. "You don't understand the scale of this, James," the figure says, their voice low but steady, each word dripping with a weight of truth. "This isn't just a local operation. It's international, and you're right at the center of it." James stares at them, unable to speak for a moment, the enormity of the words flooding his brain. International? How could anyone be involved in something so vast, so insidious? This isn't just a fight for truth or survival. It's a war that's been silently unfolding beneath the surface for years, with people like him and Rachel caught in the crossfire. The very foundation of his life is crumbling as the pieces fall into place, pieces he didn't even know existed. Rachel opens her mouth, as if to explain herself, but the newcomer silences her with a sharp look. "This is bigger than all of us," they say, their voice hard with something darker than fear, something like rage, or maybe regret. "You were never meant to be a part of this, James. But you are. And now, there's no way out." The weight of those words settles over James like a lead blanket, suffocating him as the reality of his situation sinks in. There's no way out. He's been locked in this twisted puzzle since the moment he stepped into the cafe that day, and no matter what decision he makes, there's no turning back. He looks at Rachel, his mind still reeling, but before he can ask any more questions, the newcomer speaks again, this time with a sense of urgency that sends a chill down his spine. "You've been digging, James," they continue, "but there's more. You think Rachel betrayed you? You think you've been played? That's nothing compared to what's coming next. The people behind this, they won't stop. They'll come for everyone. And they know you're getting too close." James's heart races. What are they saying? Who are the people behind this? And what do they want with him? His mind spins, unable to process everything at once, but he knows one thing for sure. He's not just a victim in this story anymore. He's a target. He's become part of a much larger plan, one that's been set into motion long before he ever entered this game. And the more he uncovers, the more dangerous it becomes. As if on cue, the door slams open and another figure steps inside. This one, a man James recognizes instantly, though he wishes he didn't. It's Greg, his old partner, the one who'd disappeared months ago under mysterious circumstances. His face is pale, his eyes wide with fear, and his hands tremble as he looks around the room. The tension in the air is thick, suffocating, as the truth settles even deeper into James's bones. Greg's return is not a coincidence. He's here for a reason, and that reason is tied to everything James has been uncovering. But what does he know? What has he been hiding? "Greg, what the hell is going on?" James asks, his voice a mixture of confusion and anger. What are you doing here?" Greg looks at him, his gaze darting between Rachel and the mysterious figure in the doorway, as if weighing his next words carefully. Finally, he speaks, his voice shaking. "I'm sorry, man," he says, his eyes filled with something James can't quite place, guilt, fear, maybe both. "I never wanted you to get involved. But they know about you. And they've been watching you. They've been watching all of us. You've been part of this from the start, James. I didn't have a choice." James stares at Greg, his mind reeling. From the start? What the hell is he talking about? Was Greg always in on this? Has he been lying this whole time? The questions flood his mind like a torrent, but there's no time to answer them. The mysterious figure in the doorway steps forward, their face hardening. "You've been blind, James," they say, their voice cold with finality. "You trusted the wrong people. And now, the truth is coming for you. It's coming for all of us." The room feels like it's closing in on him. Every word they speak only tightens the knot in James's chest, the suffocating realization that he's not just a player in this game, he's the pawn. The walls of the cafe seem to fade away as his mind races to process the truth. There's no escape. The conspiracy is vast, and it's bigger than anyone had ever imagined. What started as a quiet investigation into a seemingly simple betrayal has now unraveled into something much darker, much more dangerous. And the worst part? James realizes that he's not just caught in the crossfire. He's the trigger. He's the one they've been waiting for. And now, there's no way out. The air in the room is thick with tension as James stands facing the man he's come to fear, the one he's chased for weeks, the one who's orchestrated everything from the shadows. The walls feel like they're closing in on him, and his pulse races in his ears as he stares down at the figure who has led him into this labyrinth of deception. He's cornered now, but even in the face of imminent danger, he can't help but feel the adrenaline coursing through him, pushing him forward. He has to know the truth. There's no turning back now. The villain, Jonathan Clay, the mastermind behind everything, smiles coldly, his eyes gleaming with an almost unnatural calmness. He's been in control this entire time, always one step ahead of James, manipulating every move, every piece of information, using everyone around him like pawns in a twisted chess game. But now, standing here in this moment of reckoning, there's no escape for either of them. This is it. The truth will come out one way or another. I've been waiting for this, Clay says, his voice smooth, almost condescending. You're smarter than I gave you credit for, James. But you were always too late. You think you've uncovered the whole conspiracy, but you're wrong. You've only scratched the surface. James's eyes narrow. What the hell are you talking about? I know everything. The money laundering, the fake identities, the lies. It all leads back to you. Clay laughs softly, almost pityingly, as if James is missing the bigger picture. Oh, James, you really think it was all about money? You think it was about control? You're playing catch-up, my friend. The real game is just beginning. James feels his heart skip a beat.
What game?
What does Clay mean? His brain races, trying to put together the final pieces of the puzzle, but something doesn't add up. It's then that a cold realization strikes him like a punch to the gut. All this time, he's been chasing a phantom, a false trail that Clay has carefully laid out for him. The true nature of the conspiracy isn't just about money or power or some nefarious plot. It's about control of something much, much bigger. Something James hadn't even considered. You're not just playing with lives, are you? James says, the question hanging in the air like a death sentence. This isn't about money or influence. It's about something else, something bigger. Clay's smile widens, and for the first time, there's a flicker of genuine pride in his eyes. Now you're starting to understand. It's about the system, James. About changing everything. About reshaping the world in ways you couldn't even imagine. You were never meant to be the hero in this story. You were meant to be a tool. And now, you're too deep into it to walk away. James feels a stomach churn. His mind reels, unable to fully grasp what Clay is saying, but he knows one thing for sure. The stakes have just escalated to a level he never anticipated. This isn't just some criminal syndicate or underground network. It's an entire movement, a revolution that's been decades in the making, with people like him, people he thought he could trust, being manipulated into pushing its agenda forward. And now, he's been marked as a key player, caught in the middle of it all. Suddenly, everything clicks into place. The mysterious phone calls, the cryptic messages, the strange figures lurking in the shadows. It was never about a simple betrayal or a hidden secret. It was about forcing James to uncover the truth, to be pushed to his limits, to make him the catalyst for the change that Clay and his people had been planning all along. I never had a choice, did I? James says, his voice low and steady, though his mind is screaming. You set this whole thing up. I was your pawn from the start. Clay nods slowly, as if confirming something James already knew but was reluctant to admit.
Exactly.
And you were never going to figure it out on your own. I needed you to see it, to feel it, to understand the power you could have. And then I needed you to make the choice. The word hit James like a ton of bricks.
The choice.
What choice? And then it dawns on him. Clay isn't just after his destruction. He's been grooming James for something far more insidious. A choice that would force James to decide between his own survival and the survival of the world as he knows it. But there's something else that nags at him. Something that feels like it's just out of reach. It's a whisper, a flicker in the back of his mind. Before he can process it, Clay gestures toward a table in the corner of the room, where an unassuming envelope sits. James steps forward, instinctively reaching for it, his heart pounding in his chest. Inside, he finds a single, folded piece of paper, and as he reads it, everything changes once more. The paper is a confession, a letter from Rachel, written in her own hand, explaining everything. The final betrayal. The secret deal she made with Clay. She's been working for him all along, a double agent playing both sides. And the most shocking part? She's the one who led James to the final piece of the puzzle. She's the one who set him on the path to uncovering the truth, knowing full well what he would find. She had always been in control, and now she's sealed James's fate. The world tilts as James absorbs the shock. His chest tightens with betrayal, but deeper than that, a sense of helplessness washes over him. He was never the one who was supposed to solve this. Rachel and Clay had manipulated him, used him, and now they had him exactly where they wanted him. But there's one final twist, one final revelation that turns everything upside down. The envelope wasn't just a confession from Rachel. It's a warning. A list of names. Names of people who are still out there, people who are waiting for James to make his next move, people who have been watching him from the beginning. And at the very bottom of the list, in bold letters, is his own name. James's heart skips a beat. The final piece of the puzzle isn't just a confession. It's a countdown. And as the sound of approaching footsteps echoes from the hallway, James realizes that this is it. The final confrontation. The battle for survival. The stakes have never been higher. The room feels suffocating as James stands frozen, his mind still reeling from the shock of the final revelation. The footsteps grow louder, each one echoing through the narrow hallway as if time itself is closing in on him.
He knows there's no escaping this now.
The puzzle pieces have all come together, and the truth, as twisted as it is, has finally been exposed. But there's one thing he can't shake, the feeling that everything he thought he understood is still incomplete. The names on the list, the looming threats, the betrayals, it's all so much bigger than him.
He's not just a part of this story.
He is the story. And whether he's ready or not, this is where it all ends. The door creaks open, and James's heart skips a beat. It's Rachel. But the woman who steps into the room now is different from the one he once trusted. The air between them crackles with a tension so thick it feels like it could explode at any moment. She looks at him with a mixture of regret and determination, as if she's been carrying the weight of this moment for far too long. Her eyes, once full of secrets, are now vacant, resigned to the truth that has finally come to light. "James," she says, her voice barely above a whisper, the words laced with guilt. "I never wanted it to end like this." James looks at her, every ounce of anger and confusion swirling inside him. But beneath all of that, something else lingers. Sadness.
Sorrow.
For all the lies, for all the manipulation, for everything they've lost, he can't help but feel pity for her. The woman he once thought of as a partner, a teammate, a friend, has betrayed him in the most unimaginable way. But even in this moment, when everything seems lost, there's something in her eyes that makes him hesitate. "You didn't have to do this, Rachel," he says, his voice strained, the weight of his words suffocating him. "We could have stopped all of this. We could have fought together. But you chose this." She shakes her head, a tear slipping down her cheek, her gaze flickering toward the door as if she's seeing something that isn't there. "It was never about fighting, James. It was about survival. I didn't have a choice." She steps closer, her voice cracking under the pressure of the truth. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought, maybe if I helped them, if I played my part, I could protect you. Protect us.
But it was all just a game, a lie."
And now, everything is coming crashing down. The words hang in the air like a poison, and James's mind races, processing the sheer weight of it all. He thought he had it all figured out, that this was his moment to claim victory, to confront the mastermind and expose the truth. But instead, he's left standing here, torn between the truth he's uncovered and the reality that no one, not even Rachel, is ever as simple as they seem. The silence is broken by a soft click from the hallway, the unmistakable sound of a gun being cocked. James turns toward the door, his heart in his throat. In the shadows, another figure emerges, a familiar face, someone he least expected to see. It's Clay. But this time he's not alone. Behind him stand two more figures, their faces hidden, but their presence unmistakable. The game is far from over. I gave you a chance, James. Clay's voice cuts through the tension like a knife. But you couldn't leave it alone, could you? You had to dig deeper, had to find the truth. Now you're in it, just like the rest of us. James's mind races, his instincts screaming at him to move, to act, to escape. But it's too late. The walls are closing in. This isn't just a confrontation, it's the endgame. The question isn't whether he can survive anymore, it's whether he can survive with his soul intact. As the figures step closer, James realizes that his fight isn't just for his life. It's for his very identity, his sense of who he is. Because at this moment, nothing is certain anymore. He could be part of something much larger than himself, something he still doesn't fully understand. Or he could be just another pawn in the game. But then, just as the tension peaks, as the world seems to hold its breath, something unexpected happens. A sound, sharp, quick, almost like a gunshot, breaks through the stillness. James whips around, his heart pounding in his chest, and finds that Rachel, the woman he once trusted, has stepped in front of him, blocking Clay's path. She's holding something in her hand, something small, metallic, and dangerous. It's a gun. You're not taking him, she says, her voice steady now, though her hands tremble slightly. Not like this. Not anymore. Clay's face hardens, his eyes narrowing as he steps forward, undeterred. You really think you can stop this, Rachel? You think you can just walk away from all of it? You're too deep in it. We're all too deep. The gun in Rachel's hand wavers for a moment, but then she steadies herself, her voice strong despite the uncertainty. I'm done being part of this. I've made my choice. The room falls into chaos, the sounds of footsteps, shouts, and the ringing of a weapon being drawn filling the air. James stands frozen, unable to move, as the events around him spiral into a frenzy. But in this moment, everything changes. Rachel, the woman he thought was lost to him forever, has made her own choice. She's chosen to fight, to defy the man who manipulated them both. And in doing so, she's given James one final chance at redemption, one final chance to escape the web of lies that's ensnared them all. As the tension reaches its breaking point, the unexpected happens. The door slams open once again, and a new figure enters, this time an ally, someone James never expected to see. The final twist, the last piece of the puzzle, is revealed in the most unlikely of ways. But by then, it's almost too late to process it all. The story is far from over, but James knows one thing for certain. Everything he thought he understood is just the beginning of something much darker, much bigger. The game is still on, and nothing will ever be the same again. As the screen fades to black, the questions linger, unanswered, unresolved. The audience is left to wonder, will James ever truly escape the web of lies that has entangled him? Or will the darkness consume him, and everyone he loves, before he can uncover the truth? The answers are just out of reach, leaving a haunting silence in the air, a reminder that some mysteries are too dangerous to be solved.